Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting of the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York to order. At the conclusion of our public meeting, we will be going into executive session to discuss certain personnel matters, and we do plan to reconvene in a public session briefly following the executive session. I would like to read the following notice. The meetings of the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York are open to the public, and the Board welcomes the interest of those who attend. The public has ample opportunity to communicate with the Board. Public hearings on the Board's policy calendar are scheduled 1 week prior to the Board's regular meetings, and members of the public who wish to communicate with the Board are invited to express their views at such public hearings. Furthermore, the Board holds additional public hearings each year in all of the 5 boroughs at which members of the public may also speak. In addition, written communication to the Board are distributed to all trustees. The Board must carry out the functions assigned to it by law and therefore cannot tolerate conduct by members of the public that disrupts its meetings. In the event of disruptions, including noise, which interferes with Board discussion, after appropriate warning, I will ask the security staff to remove persons engaging in disruptive conduct. The university may seek disciplinary and/or criminal sanctions against persons who engage in conduct that violates the university's rules or state laws, which forbid interference with the work of public bodies. May I now request that everyone take a moment to mute your cell phone or BlackBerry? Thank you. As usual, CUNY TV is transmitting the public session of this afternoon's meeting of the Board live on cable channel 75. This meeting is also being webcast live and can be accessed by going to www.cuny.edu. The public session of this Board meeting will be available as a podcast within 24 hours and can also be accessed via the CUNY website. We were all pleased and very proud indeed when Governor Cuomo announced that he is nominating CUNY School of Law professor Jenny Rivera to serve in the New York State Court of Appeals. This is a highly distinguished appointment. Coupled with the significantly higher bar pass rates of 83.5% and the opening of the new law school facility, this appointment helps let everyone know that CUNY Law School has arrived as a legal scholarship. I want to congratulate Dean Anderson, and I want to express the Board's congratulations to all the faculty, staff, the students, and the alumni of the school. On a sad note, however, I note the recent passing of a great friend of the CUNY Law School, one of the original founders of the school, former State Senate Deputy Minority Leader Emanuel Gold. We express our deepest sympathies to his family. I want to extend also the Board's condolences to the family of Dr. Frank Macchiarola, who passed away on December 18th at age 71 after a long illness. Chancellor Goldstein has announced the establishment of a new student scholarship in the name of Dr. Macchiarola that will be designated for an outstanding undergraduate at Baruch College in political science, government, or public affairs. Dr. Macchiarola, a friend of many of ours, will be sorely missed. Our deepest condolences also go to the family of former York College President Charles Kidd Sr., who passed away on December 10th. As the 4th president of York College, Dr. Kidd served from 1996 to 2002. He was a lifelong advocate of education for disadvantaged and minority youth. Finally, I just learned today, and it gives me great pleasure to announce that distinguished professor of history James Oakes has won for the second time the Lincoln Prize for the best book on the era of Abraham Lincoln for his book Freedom National, the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. Some of you may recall his superb study comparing and contrasting Lincoln's views with those of Frederick Douglass. Won the Lincoln Prize, what, Bill, 4 years ago, 3 years ago? I know of no historian anywhere who has won the Lincoln Prize twice, so we ought to be very proud of Dr. Oakes. Now I would like to move a resolution you'll find at page 4 of your calendar book. I'll read the resolved passage at the end, which conveys the tenor of this resolution after several whereases. Resolved that the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York extends its profound gratitude to the many CUNY faculty who have been participating in Pathways committees and course development for their outstanding service to the board and to the entire university, and their ongoing contributions to the implementation of the Pathways initiative and the academic mission of the university. I will move this resolution. I second it. Is there any discussion or comment? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? The resolution is adopted. May I now call on Trustee Valerie Beal to announce college and faculty honors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hunter College School of Nursing, Dean Gail McCain and Associate Professor Judith Aponte were inducted as Fellows of the New York Academy of Medicine, and Assistant Dean for Research Carol Roy and Professor Donna Nikitas were named Fellows of the American Academy of Nursing. Congratulations. Lehman College Assistant Professor Elisa Galvez, also Acting Director of the CUNY Institute of Mexican Studies, was awarded the 2012 American Anthropological Association of a Latina and Latina Anthropologist Award for her book Patient Citizens, Immigrant Mothers, Mexican Women, Public Prenatal Care, and a Birth Weight Paradox. Congratulations. Baruch College Zicklin School of Business and Associate Dean Donald Shapers was named by Trust Across America as one of 2013's top 100 thought leaders in trustworthy business behavior. Congratulations. 3 faculty members of City College Physics Department, Professors Hernan Maxey, Alexis Polychronikos, and Mark Shatuk, were named Fellows of the American Physical Society. Distinguished Professor Emeritus Gilbert Boslog was elected a Fellow of the American Mathematical Society, and Professor of Architecture Tony Griffin and the J. Max Bond Center were named to the inaugural Public Interest Design 100, which honors diverse and passionate people at the intersection of design and service. Congratulations. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I'd like to now call on Trustee Kathleen Pasilli to announce student and alumni honors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Baruch College Masters in Financial Engineering, student Juan Pablo Escobar, who was one of 451 traders from the more than 50 countries, won second place and $25,000 in the 2012 Automated Trading Championship competition. Alumna class of 2011, Christina Jimenez, was named among 5 from the nonprofit world who will influence public policy in 2013 by the Chronicle of Philanthropy. Additionally, NASPA has recognized one of the 11 CUNY Percy Ellis Sutton Seek programs by selecting the program at Baruch College to receive the 2013 NASPA Gold Excellence Award. Congratulations. Hostos Community College student Leonardo Garcia took first place in the 2012 essay contest, sponsored by the New York State Society of Radiological Sciences. Congratulations. Lehman College student Zingara Haisieth was one of the 6 nationwide scholarship recipients awarded through the National AIDS Memorial Groves Young Leadership Scholarship Program. Congratulations. York College twin sister students Malve and Miloni Thacker were each among the 20 scholarship winners of the inaugural City Doctors Scholarship Program and will each receive half scholarships to St. George's University of Medicine in Grenada, and in return work as primary care physicians at a City Health and Hospitals Corporation facility once they graduate. Truly, congratulations. Macaulay Honors College at City College and CUNY BA program senior Lana Guardo, majoring in environmental justice, received the 2012 Udall Scholarship. She is the first City College student to win this award. Public Management Fellows Weeks Mensah and Nicholas Scafaris won internships with the Clinton Foundation's Global Initiative, and doctoral computer science student Carlos Yarmelo received a 2012 Ford Foundation Fellowship. Congratulations all. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. You have a list of grants and gifts received by the university since our November 26, 2012 meeting, available at the table and in your calendar book. I'd like now to call on Chancellor Goldstein to present his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me start by wishing all the trustees, presidents, and members of the Chancellery and the CUNY community a healthy and productive new year. I trust the next year will be a very good and exciting year for the university. I'd like to report, Mr. Chairman, that we are just shy of 15,000 students enrolled in our winter session programs, up about 3% over the same time last year. This is the 8th year of winter sessions at CUNY, only the 8th in our history. And that first year enrollment at that time was 3,500 students. So this is a way for us to help accelerate our students' progress towards their degrees. And I want to thank Bob Tachik, University Dean Bob Tachik, and Jay Hershenson, who really were the drivers to convince me that this was a very good thing for the university to do. And indeed, the data would suggest that it certainly is. All of you received correspondence from me last week where we detailed the components of Governor Cuomo's fiscal year 2013-2014 executive budget. Of course, that budget now will be remanded for consideration by the state legislature, and hopefully some components of that budget will be enhanced. The very good news in this budget is that this is now the 3rd year of fiscal stability in the university. This has been a wonderful time for the university in that we can plan, we can hire, and the presidents are able to use this stability to enhance the opportunities for our students in ways that we were not able to do before. The maintenance of provision principle embedded into this budget, with a predictable tuition policy embedded into this budget, and some slight alterations that enable us to move forward with the CUNY Compact. This will allow the university to have additional revenue to hire more faculty, more support staff, instrumentation, equipment, the things that we need to be the vital university all of us wish to aspire to continue moving toward. For the community colleges, the base aid of $2,272 per FTE student is maintained. There are slight increases. A program that we helped to craft with the governor's people, aligning some of our community college programs with workforce development needs, called the Next Generation of New York Job Linkage Programs, is now in place. There was no change in the tuition assistance program. There was some money provided, about $23 million, in the executive budget for Superstorm Sandy disaster response and recovery. And I'm pleased to say for the very first time, and we lobbied very aggressively for this on the capital side, we got a CUNY 2020 provision embedded into the executive budget, which provides $55 million in competitive resources to allow us to do some work on the capital side of the university. We're hoping that that challenge grant of $55 million will be replicated over the next 3 years, but we will see. I continue to chair the New York City Regional Economic Development Council for the governor, and we will be competing for business incubator funding in the immediate period ahead. There will be a meeting in February again to be hosted at one of our CUNY campuses. I also continue to serve in a leadership role for the governor on the Education Reform Commission. I believe we sent to all of you the report which we filed and which found itself into the governor's executive budget. And Mr. Chairman, I want to thank publicly Joan Lucariello, who is heads up our teacher education efforts here in the central administration, with her guidance and really sense of knowledge and skill in the area of teacher education. We were able to shape some of the recommendations that I really think helped the university in a very significant way, in particular on the working group dealing with teacher and principal quality. We have not gone out of business. This is iteration 1 of further work that we will be doing with our chair, Dick Parsons, and I look forward to communicating with you as some of those new initiatives start taking shape. We expect Mayor Bloomberg to issue his preliminary budget for 2014 later this week. There will be a New York City higher education meeting hearing on student debt, which will take place at the end of this month, and we will share all council members a copy of the CUNY value along with the prepared testimony. I'd like to thank Vice Chancellor Frank Sanchez, who will lead our panel in that effort. Through a partnership with CUNY, Graduate NYC, the New York City Department of Education, and the Options Center of Goddard Riverside, the New York City College Line website was launched in January of 2013. The site assists New Yorkers in preparing for, enrolling in, and completing college by connecting them to New York City-based programs and web-based resources. The creation of the site reflects the goals of Graduate New York City, a joint venture between CUNY and the Department of Education, to increase college readiness and completion among New York City students. Users of the NYC College Line site can search for college counseling or preparation programs in their neighborhood, access information, tips and tools, and visit, join, or open a forum to ask questions. We are working aggressively on the federal side. I don't need to reinforce the reality that there are going to be cuts, and perhaps significant cuts, in mission agencies that we continue to do well in here at the university, in the National Science Foundation, the National Institutes of Health, the Department of Defense, Department of Energy. These are all areas, the Department of Education, these are all areas where CUNY has been doing marvelous work, but I suspect that we're going to see some changes, not for the positive, over the next year or so. We are working with SUNY and the Commissioner on independent colleges and universities in our lobbying efforts to try to maintain as much latitude and opportunities for our faculties as we can, especially with our major investments in the Decade of Science at CUNY, and I'll keep you informed of those efforts. All of us were glued to the television screen on Inauguration Day, and I just want to say how proud we were of our senior senator and our vice chancellor for design, facilities, and construction, Iris Wanshall. I said at my cabinet when Iris walked into the rotunda in the Capitol building, who was that tall woman walking with Iris Wanshall? So Iris, we were very pleased to see you, and give our very best to our seniors. I'll be hosting a reception at Gracie Mansion on Thursday, February 7th, to thank the many members of the CUNY community who provided essential assistance before, during, and after Hurricane Sandy to CUNY faculty and students, as well as thousands of New Yorkers who needed shelter because of the storm. This event is included in the calendar of events that all of you have in front of you. And again, I want to thank the entire CUNY community, especially our presidents and their senior people on the campuses. Your work during this very difficult time that we experienced in New York City was truly remarkable. And to members of the Chancellery, in particular Alan Dobrin and Vice Chancellor Sanchez and so many others, for the very good work in leading those efforts. As you may recall, at the last board meeting, I announced an exciting new initiative at the university. This initiative, which we are now calling the CUNY Student Service Corps, will provide CUNY students, both undergraduate and graduate, with paid and in some cases credit-bearing positions working 10 to 15 hours a week on projects related to supporting the civic, economic, environmental sustainability of New York City and of its residents and communities. Planning for this effort is well underway, with a goal of enrolling 1,000 students this fall. We have created an advisory committee made up of several of my senior staff and representatives from the colleges, and have named an acting director, Rachel Stephenson, who is working under the supervision of Senior Executive Vice Chancellor Alan Dobrin, Senior University Dean John Mogilescu, and University Dean Suri Deitch. Got it right, Deitch. I will update you further on the program as it will develop. The Invest in CUNY Celebrating Our Partners was held on Thursday, January 24th at the New York Times Center. We had over 350 people coming, dominated by so many of the individuals and companies that have shown their support of CUNY over the years. We announced that thus far towards our campaign, we have raised over $2.3 billion and are well on track to completing that laudable goal for the university. And lastly, Mr. Chairman, as many of you know, we're celebrating the 50th anniversary this year of the founding of the 50th of the Research Foundation's development here at the university. Mayor Bloomberg proclaimed Thursday, January 24th as CUNY Research Foundation Day in New York City, citing the foundation as one of the city's leaders in nonprofit operations and grants management services. I want to, and the governor also issued a citation. I just want to thank publicly Richard Rothbard, who has done an exemplary job in bringing this important institution within our reach to do some of the things that we have done before. Before I end, I'd just like to call on Frank Sanchez, our Vice Chancellor, if you could give us a little of the activities and all of the work that you and so many of the wonderful students here did relative to the storm.
Sure.
Frank, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Chancellor Goldstein. You know, the university has made good progress, I think, in responding to the students hardest hit by Hurricane Sandy. In particular, we've taken several actions to provide support for those students most struggling to stay in school. First, colleges have been asked to consider tuition waivers and other financial assistance for students affected by the storm. Over $900,000 in student emergency funding has been allocated to our colleges, and I want to especially thank the Robin Hood Foundation and the Peachtree Foundation for their contributions. Many students, of course, as you know, had to miss class as a result of the storm. In response, academic departments and faculty were asked to be flexible with students as they completed course assignments and exams this past semester. Our CUNY students and colleges really responded in force to aid struggling communities. In response to the Chancellor's CUNY Works initiative, over 9,000 CUNY representatives responded, providing over 10,000 hours in service. I want to especially thank Trustee Kwaku, SGA student body presidents, and the executive director of the Malave Leadership Academy, Kevin Tucker, for their efforts, response, and ethic of care. Truly outstanding work of those folks. Finally, for this spring, we're anticipating a need for ongoing support for affected students. Specifically, we're expecting an increase in academic grade appeals this coming semester and have asked appeal committees to be sensitive to student circumstances associated with Sandy. Campus counselors are preparing for an increase in walk-ins as more students find it increasingly difficult to manage stress, emotions, finances, academic pressures, and in some cases, trauma associated with the storm. While the impact of student enrollments is yet to be seen, we anticipate some students may consider stopping out for a semester. We're encouraging colleges and their administrations to closely monitor enrollments and consider surveying non-returning students as to why they chose not to enroll this spring semester. That concludes my Hurricane Sandy student summary.
Mr. Chairman, may I say a few words? I again want to congratulate the President of Hostos and our dynamic Chancellor Jerry Hutchinson, because we also raised $150,000 in CUNY on the Heights for the storm. So I think that it should be noticed that the Upper Manhattan came across, and we also sent about 3 trucks full of all items for the people of these that were on the Sandy storm. I think they deserve an applause.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I don't know how Jay Hershenson did this, but he has from the New York Times the Sunday edition, February 3rd of 2013. So this is a look to the future. How he got this, I don't ask him, but in the centerfold is a wonderful graphic of Nobel Prizes that were won by students who studied at the City University of New York, and alongside them, CUNY's National Science Foundation winners. And it's just a wonderful statement about that the excellence and quality and innovation of students of the past have migrated to the students today at the university, and I think it's just a very strong statement that this university continues to change the world in very, very significant ways. So I urge that you look at this.
Thank you. Are there questions or comments on the Chancellor's report? Trustee Pantaleo?
Mr. Chairman, this is the first Chancellor's report in quite a while that Pathways wasn't mentioned, and I suspect it wasn't mentioned because we had this resolution which I supported and which passed unanimously. I would just like to comment, if I may, if it is not out of order, that I believe that there exists, and it is obvious to all, some substantial or some faculty opposition to Pathways that is ongoing. I think it would be disingenuous of us to not acknowledge that those faculty members whose opposition is based on principles and concern for the educational quality of the institution articulated their concerns in a way that I believe made the product better and made Pathways better, so that this resolution that was passed earlier I think goes to virtually all faculty members who behaved in a principled and appropriate and I believe very helpful fashion. I think just as it would be disingenuous not to acknowledge that there are faculty members who are highly principled in some opposition to this, it would also be naive to say some opposition is self-interested. There is nothing wrong with self-interest. It is simply not as persuasive as principle. And it's a good thing, and I'm not opposed to self-interest. But I did want to say, since this was on the agenda, or placed on the agenda and discussed and passed, that I think that much of the opposition suffers from being a little overstated. Whether it's 5,000 names on a petition that's listed on the PSC website, which when you look at it, at its 25,000 members, first of all, does not exactly indicate massive resistance. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly, when you look at it, people who identify themselves as from California and the like are unlikely to be on our faculty. So I don't know how many of those 5,000 names are actually faculty. I raise this because I do think that there is a division in the faculty ranks on this, and I just wanted to make it clear that I hope that everyone takes and agrees with the very simple proposition that dissent very, very rarely does not lead to a better product, and that the fact that there has been faculty dissent about this is actually a healthy and good thing. And I commend Mr. Chairman, the Chancellor, and the Provost for their dealing with this issue, and I believe in largely a constructive and appropriate fashion. That's the only comment.
Any other comments? Trustee Shorter?
I have a simple question to the Chancellor. Where will the challenge grant be administered within the university? Has that been determined?
It'll be in Iris Weinschald's office. We're going to get guidance from the governor's people that conceive the idea of competitive process, but administratively it will be remanded to here at the university.
And through ESDC?
ESDC will be a partner with us, as will the New York City Regional Economic Development Council.
Yes, Trustee Martell?
I want to thank the Chancellor and commend his effort with regard to the very, very important financial stability that he's been able to achieve for this university. We are now in a position to be actually hiring when most are not. Timing is everything, and I think the opportunity here to attract really superior faculty is within our grasp for this particular recruiting cycle, and it wouldn't have happened without the ability to have the compact go forward for all these years. So we owe him a great vote of confidence and thanks for his effort in this regard. With regard to the capital grant question, I'm hoping that the capital grants go beyond mere bricks and mortar, although I have no objection to bricks and mortar. This seems to me, if you look at what CUNY has done with these, it's an opportunity to leverage successful programs in a way that really, really gives us a competitive advantage. And I would hope that the definition of capital projects is broad enough to extend to things that CUNY does particularly well on the academic side. And last but not least, I couldn't help but comment on that excellent summary of the disputes that have arisen here with regard to pathways. I want you to understand that my dispute is student-driven and principled, and we will see where it all ends up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we'll turn now to the policy items that require a vote. I'd like to move the adoption of the Chancellor's University Report for January 28th, 2013. You'll have a copy of this report on the table. May I have a second?
Second.
Are there any questions on the Chancellor's University Report? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That carries. Next, I would like to move the approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting and executive session of November 26, 2012. You will find a copy of the draft minutes in your meeting books. Does anyone have any revisions or changes they want to suggest in the minutes? If not, may I have a second to the motion? Questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are adopted. We'll turn now to reports from our committees. We'll hear first from the Committee on Fiscal Matters, Trustee Loda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Fiscal Affairs met on January 7th, 2013. After approval of the minutes of our November 5th meeting, the committee proceeded to approve the following resolutions. Calendar item 3A is a resolution requesting that the Board of Trustees of the University approve the sale of works of art that were donated to the City College of New York by alumnus Charles Offen. The estimated value of the total sale is approximately $1.2 million. The resolution also calls for the Board to authorize that the net funds received from the sale be transferred to and held, managed, and administered by the college and used on its behalf. The proceeds from the sale will be used to support a substantial number of art initiatives at the college, including support for the fine arts and the performing arts. Charles Offen was a 1920 graduate of the City College. Mr. Chairman, I move the approval and adoption of calendar item 3A.
I'll second that resolution. Are there questions about this estate and the sale? Not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? 3A carries.
Thank you. Calendar item 3B is a resolution requesting that the Board of Trustees of the University authorize the college presidents to waive or defer tuition payments for the spring 2012 semester for those students seriously impacted by Hurricane Sandy and where their economic circumstances preclude their enrollment at City University of New York. Mr. Chairman, I move the approval and adoption of calendar item 3B.
I'll second that. Are there questions about the waiver authority of the presidents? Any comment? Not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? 3B carries.
Mr. Chairman, there is a resolution that came in too late for review at our January 7th meeting, but being of a sensitive nature is being brought directly to the board for its consideration. I refer the trustees to our board meeting booklet to Section 4 for calendar item 3C, which is a resolution requesting that the Board of Trustees of the university approve the sale of a Keith Haring original painting, which is untitled, number 742. The estimated value of the painting is approximately $300,000 to $500,000. General Counsel is authorized to review and approve and execute all documents necessary to effectuate the sale. And it's further resolved that this board is authorized the net funds received from the sale to be transferred to and held, managed, and administered by the City College and used on its behalf. Mr. Chairman, I move the approval and adoption of this calendar item 3C.
I'll second that. Are there questions about the Haring painting? I see it was acquired for $12,600, so the ROI is rather impressive.
2 questions and an observation. Irony of this is that the MTA rejected having Keith Haring's works in its arts program when it first started, when he was a fledgling artist.
He's in good company. Pam Geller was also rejected.
But both artists, however, are currently in the New York City subway system.
Yes, they
Thanks
are.
to Mark Shaw.
Prior to your chairmanship. 2 quick questions. How was the value determined, and who will handle the sale transaction?
General Counsel, Rick?
We're doing 2 sales, and I forget which paintings are going to which auction house. It's Sotheby's and Christie's, and the
But they
estimate...
are going to those auction houses?
Yes, and
Face
the
value.
estimate comes from one or the other of those 2.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments? Professor Martell?
The explanation to the resolution, the last sentence says the proceeds from the sale will be used to support a substantial number of arts initiatives at the college. That was consistent with what we discussed at our committee meeting. One would hope that we would be able to make sure that that, in fact, is what happens to the proceeds, because this is sometimes where you get yourself into a conundrum.
I can assure you that will happen.
Any other comments or questions? Are you ready? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? Item 3C carries.
Thank you. Following the approval of the action items A and B by the committee, there were 2 information items. The first was a report from the Chief Investment Officer, Janet Crone, on the university's portfolio performance, and the second was a report by the University Controller, Barry Kaufman, to the Audit Subcommittee regarding its information as of December 18, 2012. Mr. Chairman, this concludes my report.
Thank you very much. We'll turn next to the Committee on Faculty, Staff, and Administration. I'll call on Trustee Valerie Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I now present for the board's approval the items that the Committee for Faculty, Staff, and Administration considered at its meeting on January 7th, 2013. In addition, since then, several timely matters have come to our attention that we believe the board should consider without delay. I will share those items at the end of my report. Items 4A, 4B, and 4C involve naming opportunities at Brooklyn College associated with monetary gifts totaling more than $1.25 million. The Committee on Faculty, Staff, and Administration has reviewed these items and recommends their approval. They are the Francis L. Coulton Classroom at Brooklyn College, the Dr. Stanley A. August Instrumentation Laboratory, and the Stephen R. Velasco Class of 67 Classroom. Mr. Chair, I present items 4A, 4B, and 4C for the board's consideration.
I'm happy to second those items. Are there questions for the committee? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? Those carry.
Thank you. Item 4D is a naming opportunity at the College of Staten Island. Mrs. Gabriella Bass has contributed a $50,000 charitable gift annuity to the college's nursing program and executed her last will and testament to leave her entire estate to endow numerous full scholarships for CSI nursing students. In recognition of her ongoing support, the college will name the Sam Bass Memorial Nursing Room in honor of Mrs. Bass's husband. Mr. Chair, I present item 4D for the board's approval.
I'll second that. Are there questions about this one? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That carries.
Item 4E and 4F are namings at Hunter College, again involving monetary gifts in excess of $1.25 million. The Committee on Faculty, Staff, and Administration is pleased to recommend their approval as follows. Naming of the Franklin Roosevelt's Library and Stairwell at Roosevelt House in honor of Ada, Asante, Ignacio, and Romano Peluso. Naming of the Dean Christian Gaby Classroom at Hunter College School of Nursing. Mr. Chair, I present items 4E and 4F for the board's consideration.
I'll second those. Are there questions on the Hunter items? Not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Those carry.
Item 4G designates a new distinguished professor of history, Dr. Judith Stein, at City College. The committee is pleased to recommend Dr. Stein's appointment effective February 1st, 2013. Mr. Chair, I present item 4G for the board's approval.
I'm happy to second that. Is there discussion on this distinguished professorship? Not all in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed? Abstentions?
Mr. Chair, I'm delighted to tell you that Dr. Stein is with us today. I therefore would like to invite President Lisa to introduce CUNY's newest distinguished professor.
Thank you so much. I am truly thrilled to be sitting one seat over from Professor Stein, who is being recognized by this important honor today. Judith Stein is a leading 20th century United States historian and authority on African American history, labor history, and United States political and economic history. She's also authored 7 seminal essays, book reviews, and has become a sought-after public intellectual on contemporary political and economic issues for national publications and in the national media. Some of you may be familiar with her commentary on the Occupy Wall Street movement, from her appearances on Bloomberg TV and quotes in both the New York Times and other publications. Professor Stein, I can't believe this is true, but she joined CUNY and City College in 1965. And she's been an anchor.
I was 12 years old.
You must have been. And she's been an anchor in the departments of history at both City College and Graduate and University Center. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of her leading works and some of the comments from the reviewers. The outside reviewers for this particular distinguished professorship for Dr. Stein were leading scholars in the field of modern United States history and labor history. They included full professors from Harvard University, Princeton University, Stanford University, the University of Pennsylvania, Columbia University, the University of Michigan, as well as leading public intellectuals. The reviewers were uniformly enthusiastic about her candidacy for a distinguished professorship. They praised Professor Stein as, quote, one of the best historians of the 20th century United States, an indispensable scholar who has commanded respect and attention for decades. The ad hoc committee who selected Professor Stein's outside reviewers was a distinguished group of 3 university distinguished professors. In their letter, they described Professor Stein as, quote, among the 2 or 3 most renowned and respected historians on the faculty of the entire City University. Another quote, no historian at CUNY is more deserving of promotion to distinguished professor than Judith Stein. Of her 3 works, The World of Marcus Garvey, Race, Class, and Modern Society in 1986, this work remains 25 years later the most important study of the leader of the largest mass movement in African American history. Adolph Reed of the University of Pennsylvania called this work, I quote, hands down the most sophisticated and informative study ever of Garveyism and its social basis. A second work, Running Steel, Running America, Race, Economic Policy, and the Decline of Liberalism, from her work in 1998, investigated the state of the United States steel industry in the post-World War II era. Here, Professor Stein studied the intersection of foreign policy and civil rights policy as global objectives, not the blind forces of capitalism, undermined the nation's support for the steel industry. Civil rights activists broke down racial barriers to hiring at precisely the moment the industry was in decline. Eric Arnenson of George Washington University called this, and I quote, the single most important work on issues of race, labor, and policy in post-war America. And finally, her most recent work in 2010, Pivotal Decade, How the United States Traded Factories for Finance in the 70s. Professor Stein studied the economic transformations of the 1970s. Her work carefully, I can't believe you did this either. She worked carefully through many records, including the minutes of the Federal Reserve Board, no mean feat, to explore the Keynesian fiscal policies in undermining industrial growth and helping create long-term trends of economic inequality. Again, this work steered past explanations of decline rooted in culture or impersonal features on globalization to trace the particular decisions that shaped the economic upheavals of the 1970s. Quickly, this work has attracted attention inside and outside of academia. In 2 symposiums, scholars of history and social science addressed the work's arguments and implications. Michael Kazin of Georgetown called the book a key reference for those who write and speak about the roots of the current economic crisis. This is but a little bit of the incredible scholarship you have provided to City College students and CUNY graduate students, and you are an outstanding teacher and educator, which to me makes you the most amazing person, and I am humbled to present Judith to this wonderful board.
Thank you, President Koiko, for your more than generous comments. And I want to thank the board. I'm humbled and very proud that you've awarded me this honor. I also would like to thank the provost of City College, Maurizio Trevisan, who has been a supporter, and my 2 chairs, Gregory Downs and Andreas Killen, who initiated this project. I'll be brief, but I just want you to know that when I first started teaching at City College many years ago at the age of 12, I believed, and I still believe, that the best trained people should teach the children of the working class. But what I didn't realize at the time was how the teaching here would affect me as a scholar. City College often was not, and still is not, the most ideal place to research and write. But the frequent conflicts and problems at the college kept me grounded, which was very important for my work as a historian. It made me hard-headed. It inoculated me from passing intellectual fashions that afflicted those who taught at more genteel academic places. The body of work that I produced on race, economy, and politics is as much a product of my experiences here as the numerous archives that I traveled to, and for that I am very, very grateful. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, President Lisa and Professor Stein. I will now continue with my report. The following resolutions came in too late for review at our January 7th meeting, but are of time-sensitive nature, and so are being brought directly before the board for consideration. Please refer to the added items document in the trustees' meeting books and around the table. Those items are item 4H, continuation of military leave and employer-paid health and welfare benefits coverage for university employees recalled from the reserves to active military service. Each year since 2001, in response to the events of September 11th, the university has extended military leave and health and welfare benefits coverage for university employees recalled from the reserves to active military service related to the war on terrorism. This resolution authorized the continuation of these benefits through December 31st, 2013. Mr. Chair, I present this matter for the board's approval.
I'd like to second this. We've had this item before in previous years, so I think it's familiar. Are there any questions for the committee? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, abstentions? 4H carries.
Thank you. Item 4I, acceptance of a gift from the Congressman Charles B. Rangel at the City College of New York. In February 2008, the board approved creation of the Charles B. Rangel Center for Public Service on the City College campus. This resolution facilitates acceptance of a gift of paper records, framed items and awards, and other memorabilia from the New York and Washington, D.C. offices of the Honorable Congressman Charles B. Rangel to be archived at the Charles B. Rangel Center for Public Service and permits the college to accept further contributions on the same terms. Mr. Chair, I present this matter for the board's approval.
I'd like to second that. Are there any questions about the Rangel gift and the papers? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That carries.
Thank you. Item 4J, naming of the Red Tails Tuskegee Airmen exhibit at York College. The Port Authority of New York and New Jersey has provided a grant in the amount of $2 million to enable the York College Aviation Institute to develop a permanent exhibit dedicated to the Tuskegee Airmen. From 1941 through 1946, approximately 1,000 black enlistees were trained at the Tuskegee Institute to be pilots, aircraft, and engine mechanics. During World War II, these aerial pioneers battled discrimination as well as the enemy while achieving a stellar combat record as fighter pilots. Many of the Tuskegee Airmen are from and reside in the New York metropolitan area. The exhibit at York College will chronicle the history of the airmen and their contributions to the aviation industry. Mr. Chair, with great pleasure, I present this matter for the board's approval.
I'm happy to second that. Are there questions about the exhibit? If not, all in favor, please. Yes.
Should the minutes note that one of our own was a Tuskegee Airman, Roscoe Brown?
Roscoe Brown, yes,
President.
indeed.
Absolutely.
Indeed so. Other comments, questions? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That carries.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll hear next from the Committee on Facilities Planning and Management. May I call on Trustee Frida Foster?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Board of Trustees Committee on Facilities Planning and Management considered items at its meeting of January 7, 2013. These action items are listed in this board meeting calendar as items 5A and 5B. The first one, City University of New York lease amendment at 5030 Broadway, New York, New York, on behalf of Hostos Community College and the Borough of Manhattan Community College, which is to authorize the execution of a lease amendment to add approximately 3,757 rentable square feet to the lease at that location on behalf of those colleges. The explanation is the CUNY and the Heights Center, jointly administered by Hostos Community College and Borough BMCC, occupies 15,000 rentable square feet of space at 5030 Broadway pursuant to a 15-year lease that began June 1st, 2012. The lease expires May 31st, 2027, and the base annual rental of existing space is $495,000. That is $33 per square foot. The new space and adjacent storefront will allow CUNY in the Heights to expand its academic programs. Second item, LaGuardia Community College Humanities Office Complex relocation, which is to authorize the acceptance of the design as prepared by APA Ahua Partnership Architects with a construction budget of $1.8 million. The project will construct an office complex for the Humanities Department to house approximately 50 full and adjunct faculty members in order to accommodate the college's planned library expansion. In addition, the following resolution came in too late for prior review at the prior Board of Trustees Committee meeting, and that was held on January 7th. Therefore, it is being brought before the Board of Trustees for consideration. Looking in, you guessed it, Section 4 of the board meeting booklet, Item 5C. This is the sale of a CUNY residence, which is to authorize the Senior Vice Chancellor of Legal Affairs to execute a contract of sale and related documents to effect the sale of residential property located at 265 Park Lane, Douglaston, New York. This is a property no longer used as a presidential residence for York College. This resolution will authorize the university to effect the sale of the property to the highest bona fide offerer at a price expected to be not less than $1.25 million. I hereby request your approval of these items.
Thank you. I'll second those three items. Are there questions for the committee on any of them? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, abstentions? Those items carry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That concludes my report.
Thank you very much. I have an informational item for the board, number 6. It's to serve as notice of an action by the Board of Trustees Executive Committee on January 7, 2013, on an item recommended by the Chancellor, namely the award by Hunter College of an honorary degree for Walter Isaacson, known to many members of the Executive Committee personally and through his books. The Executive Committee was unanimous in adopting that, and pursuant to our rules, we notify the Board of any Executive Committee action. We have an added item from the Committee on Student Affairs and Special Programs. May I call on Trustee Basili?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Student Affairs and Special Programs puts before the Board a vote for the establishment of Incorporated College Association at Brooklyn College. Copies of the resolution and supporting documents for this item are now in your folder. The establishment of Incorporated College Association at Brooklyn College, it resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the establishment of the Brooklyn College Association, Inc., and the proposed bylaws and certificate of incorporation of the College Association. An explanation. The Brooklyn College is restructuring its college association from a unit of the college to a separate corporation. In association with the Board Bylaws, Section 16.5, the bylaws and certificate of incorporation of the College Association have been approved by the Brooklyn College President and reviewed by the University Office of General Counsel. The name of the College Association is Brooklyn College Association, Inc. The College Association will be responsible for administering the student activity fee and such other appropriate activities as may be approved by its governing board. The association's governing board will be comprised of the Brooklyn College president or her designate as chair, 6 students, 3 administrators, and 3 faculty members. If you have any questions, Senior Vice Chancellor Schaefer will be happy to expand on the establishment of this association. Mr. Chairman,
I'm happy to second the motion. Thank you. Are there questions about this establishment of this association? If not, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? That carries.
Mr. Chairman, I have one additional item. At this time, I would like to thank the CUNY students, faculty, and staff who have been responding to devastation of Hurricane Sandy by actively assisting in community recovery efforts. Special thanks to Kevin Tucker, Executive Director, and students from CUNY and Malave Leadership Academy, the CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities, University Student Senate, and SEEK, and the CD United Student Leaders who volunteered in Staten Island and the Rockaways, participating in a variety of service projects. Thank you again for a job well done. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public business for the first public meeting of the board. We will have an executive session now, and then we will reconvene in a brief public session following the executive session. We're adjourned.
Okay. We are now out of. Okay. Okay. We are now out of executive session, and we have one item to consider. You have a resolution in front of you regarding this, and it's the designation of Diane Bova-Call as president of Queensborough Community College. The explanation and rationale is in front of you. I will read the resolution and then ask for a second. Resolved that the Board of Trustees approve the appointment of Diane Bova-Call to be president of Queensborough Community College effective January 29th, 2013, at a salary to be recommended by the Chancellor to the Board, subject to financial ability. Is there a second to that? Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? It carries. Thank you very much. Are there any other items? But I think we have the president here first. Do you want to make a brief statement to us?
I would just say that I'm deeply appreciative of this opportunity to serve Queensborough, its students, its faculty, and its staff, and our great university. So thank you so much.
Okay, good. Thank you. Congratulations. We're really glad to have you on board. Are there any other items to be brought before the Board of Trustees? Hearing no items, I will motion and move that we adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Have a wonderful evening.